After being a fixture on campuses for generations, the Blue Book is making a comeback to combat cheating in the AI era. Brian only used the Blue Book.
I love
Computers
Blue Books.
didn't exist when he was in school.
Love Blue Books.
The Blue Book is helping fuel the American blue-collar boom as well, providing manufacturing jobs in its plant in Martinsburg, Pennsylvania. That's where we're finding Jeff Locke. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, you're watching one of those blue-collar manufacturing jobs at work. That's the Blue Book in there. Yeah, Taylor, I think you remember this. You spent a lot of time in college getting various degrees, more so than I. But that's what you would have used back in the day. And a lot of people thought, oh, this is over. Blue Books, you know, we've got technology. Well, it's back in a big way. That's what they look like when they get done. And why is it back? Well, because people were cheating. And, you know, with one of these Blue Books, you got to fill that up with actual words and pencil and a paper and all that sort of thing. And that is great news to a sixth-generation paper purveyor, which is Krista Allen.
Hi.
Good for business.
Yes, it has been good for business. It's nice to see people returning to paper and pencil.
Yeah, Taylor, put the number up. 60% roughly of administrators now say that cheating has intensified since AI came on the scene.
Absolutely, and I know from my own children that the cheating goes all the way down to, you know, elementary and high school.
This is the Roaring Spring Paper Company. Maybe Neil gives you a view of the whole place. They don't just make Blue Books, but curiously enough, you make most all of the Blue Books in the U.S., and how can you compete with, like, the Chinese and the other big manufacturing countries?
Sure. So what we have really found over the years is as the market changes, we have to use our strengths to do what we're good at. And what we're good at is small runs of custom product that overseas companies aren't willing to do.
Yeah, gotcha. And maybe we've got a couple of those here. They don't, as I said, don't just make the Blue Books, but stuff for Penn State, Syracuse, anything like that. This is stuff that is in small enough batches that, you know, a big like China would not turn out enough of these to make it worth their while.
Correct. They prefer to do things in full container loads, like large batches, where we're willing to do small batches to be custom to exactly what our customer wants.
These guys have been in business since 1887, so that's 138 years, 6 generations.
Yes. 6 generations. When we started our company, we didn't have electricity in our plant. We took orders by telegraph. So we've changed a lot, but being flexible and being willing to try new things is what's kept us here.
Well, there you go. An American success story, and perhaps you guys should take a page out of their book.
Well said. We'll make Brian take his exam after this with the Blue Book.
Would love to.
Jeff, thank you. Meanwhile, the AI race heating up, and it might be closer than we thought. The White House AI czar, David Sachs, issuing a pretty grave warning, saying that China is now just months behind our AI technology. And if the U.S. overregulates, we risk losing that lead. Sachs is issuing a clear directive to Silicon Valley, saying that, quote, "We are slashing the red tape, so get to work." Big tech might be getting the message. Meta, one of those, making a giant investment in its AI program, spending about $14 billion for a piece of scale AI. Brian, I wanted to come to you on this, not on Blue Books, but on technology. Because, you know, when it comes to AI, I admit that China probably fabricated a lot when they were talking about the advancements they were able to make with DeepSeek for how cheap and how many chips they were using. But it isn't lost on me that even with some exaggeration, we're no longer decades or years ahead. We're only months ahead. And that is also what worries me, even despite some of the exaggerations that we hear from China.
Well, so that I agree with you on that. And it's interesting how the AI space in America has changed as a result of feeling that way. Meta bought AI Scale. Did I get the name right?
Scale AI?
Scale AI, 49% stake. Interesting to me why they did that. They wanted to get the head guy there in at Meta. And they love him because he's a wartime leader. Okay, they call him a wartime leader, which means forget all the pretensions about we're here to, you know, make you feel warm and fuzzy and inclusivity and all this stuff. No, we want to win a race. We're not winning that race right now. And as a part of that, all these guys, remember a few years ago when none of these guys, and you may not like this, I don't know about you, none of these guys want to do anything with defense. Google didn't want to do anything with defense. Meta didn't want to do anything with, nobody wanted to do anything with defense.
They were doing massive walkouts and boycotts.
Guess what they're doing now? defense. Like all they want to do is defense because there's money there and there's opportunity there to learn faster and to progress faster. So, and I think all this is good. Actually, in America, the big tech companies have gotten much more serious about their core knitting, which is technology. And you can see that in the way they're spending money and who they're partnering with.
Well, Brian, once again, we part ways just a little bit.
Excellent. Tell me where.
Look, I've been a fan of AI, talked about it on this show. I use it all the time. But look, if you read the essay by Sam Altman that's out today.
Read it twice.
I don't know. It sent chills up my spine. He's talking about the singularity. You know, that's when you know, AI is outpacing humans in terms of knowledge. And he thinks it's a great thing. But the way he describes it and the lack of sensitivity in the way he describes it and its impact on regular Americans, I find frightening. He's overly optimistic. There's a lot of hype here. You know, like this is like the PR release from the AI industry was what he wrote today. And I feel like we need to have other people in the conversation about how it's going to be used and who it's going to help. Look, if you are pushing this because, and I've heard you say this, productivity is going to go up, right? People need jobs. It's an organizing feature of most people's lives. People need to work. We need to have ways for people to work. And if AI takes that away, it's a problem.
So on that front, are you guys familiar with Javin's paradox? All right, this is something that has become relevant to the conversation around AI, and I'll explain why I think the blue books are a really perfect example of this. So back in the 1850s, this guy, William Javins, he parted ways from where everybody else was on the steam engine. The steam engines were getting much more efficient. And people were saying, as a result, there was going to be a lot less demand for coal because the trains were getting better at using the coal. And Javins said, no, there's a paradox here. There's going to be more demand for coal because the trains are getting more efficient, more people are going to be able to ride them, more trains are going to be needed to fill that demand. And a lot of people are saying that AI is being sort of in the same sort of category. And the blue books are a perfect example of that. We thought they went the way of the steam engine, but actually it turns out because all these students are using AI in order to cheat, there's suddenly a new demand for this beautiful American company made in America. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that, less replacing workers and more thinking of creative ways that workers can use AI in order to get ahead. And I'll just say one more thing. The Department of Labor is thinking very creatively about how to use AI to disrupt what has been this calcification of blue-collar work here, where you can only advance to here, and then the white-collar work where you can keep advancing to management and what have you. They're thinking, how can we train blue-collar workers to where they have access to management and higher levels within their companies? And I just love that.
I'm just going to fire back quickly here because I think the fear is that a lot of entry-level jobs will be eliminated. And that's where people, young people in particular, learn how to have a job. Learn how you go into the office every day or go to the factory every day. And I think that's a real live concern. I'm happy to hear that some people are happy this is all nothing, but I'm worried.
My comment goes back to how Taylor opened the segment up, which is, where are we in the race? How do we maintain our leadership position? I personally think, I mean, the Chinese are not stupid. So with DeepSeek, they were saying they copied the model. They might have copied the model. They might have made it cheaper. They also might have, grossly blown that out of proportion. But they're not stupid, and they're not sitting back on their laurels, not developing their own technology. So they're doing that. Even if we send them, Brian, I agree with you, the low-end chips, I think they'll pull those apart and start to figure out how to do different things with them. And I think ultimately this is a race that depends on investment. It depends on regulation here in this country, how much you regulate versus how much you pull those regulations back and let the companies go. And, like anything else, how much money are we going to throw at this problem to be number one? And I think we're doing it. That's not to say the Chinese aren't doing it. I don't think it's the kind of situation where you can let your foot off the gas, not even for 1 second, or they do have that potential to take the lead.